This is a story that will grip your soul and ignite a fire within you, a tale of one man's unwavering belief in a vision that transforms not only his life but the lives of those around him. It's a narrative that shatters the chains of doubt, smashes the walls of skepticism, and proves that dreams, no matter how unconventional, can reshape reality when fueled by relentless determination. If you've ever felt dismissed, misunderstood, or trapped by the expectations of others, this story will resonate deeply, urging you to break free from the mundane and chase what sets your heart ablaze. Let this journey inspire you to defy the naysayers, embrace your unique path, and discover the extraordinary power of perseverance. In the heart of Oklahoma City, where the flat plains stretch endlessly under a wide, unrelenting sky, lived a young man named Caleb Turner. At 27, Caleb was a wiry figure, with intense green eyes that seemed to see beyond the present, into a future others couldn't fathom. His small apartment, tucked in a modest brick building near the bustling downtown, was a sanctuary of ideas. The walls were lined with whiteboards, scrawled with complex algorithms, and his desk overflowed with books on cryptography, decentralized systems, and computer science. For 6 years, Caleb had poured his soul into blockchain technology, a concept his family scorned as digital fairy dust or internet monopoly money. Their mockery stung, but it only sharpened his resolve. Caleb's journey began at 14, in a cramped bedroom in his parents' suburban home. His father, Richard, a gruff auto mechanic with grease-stained hands, WG, and his mother, Linda, a part-time school secretary, saw his second-hand laptop as a toy, a distraction from real skills like fixing cars or playing football. But Caleb was captivated. Late into the night, he taught himself to code, his fingers dancing across the keys as he built simple games and websites. The internet was his classroom, and open-source forums were his teachers. By 16, he was contributing to small coding projects, earning praise from strangers across the globe. Yet, to his family, it was a hobby, a phase he'd outgrow. High school blurred past, and Caleb enrolled at Oklahoma State University, majoring in computer science. But the classroom felt stifling. Professors droned about outdated systems, while Caleb's mind raced toward blockchain technology, promising trust without intermediaries, freedom from centralized control. In his junior year, at 20, he made a choice that stunned his family. He dropped out. "You're throwing your life away," Richard bellowed, his face red with fury. Linda wept, fearing her son was lost to a pipe dream. Even Caleb's older sister, Sarah, a practical nurse, urged him to reconsider. Only his young niece, Lily, 9 years old with wide, curious eyes, seemed to believe in him. "Uncle Caleb, are you going to change the world?" she'd ask. And he'd smile, ruffling her hair. "I'm sure gonna try." The rift with his family deepened. Richard stopped speaking to him for months, and family gatherings grew tense. At a 4th of July barbecue, his brother-in-law, Mike, a car salesman with a booming laugh, clapped Caleb's shoulder and said, "When you gonna get a real job, kid? I could get you a spot at the dealership. Good money. Steady hours." The words landed like a punch. Caleb forced a smile, muttering, "Maybe someday." But inside, he burned. He wasn't chasing a paycheck. He was chasing a revolution. Alone in his apartment, Caleb's world was his work. He lived frugally, surviving on instant noodles and coffee, his savings from freelance coding gigs dwindling. Blockchain was still fringe, mocked by mainstream tech as a libertarian fantasy. But Caleb saw its potential, a system to optimize smart contracts, making transactions faster, cheaper, and more secure. He called it Nexus, a protocol to streamline decentralized networks. By 23, he'd written his first white paper, a 50-page manifesto outlining Nexus's architecture. He posted it online, expecting little. To his shock, it spread like wildfire. Developers in Silicon Valley, Singapore, and Berlin debated it in forums. A startup in San Francisco offered him $3 million for the protocol. Caleb declined. Nexus wasn't just code, it was his vision, his legacy. Over the next 3 years, Caleb refined Nexus, working 18-hour days, his eyes bloodshot but blazing with purpose. He ignored the doubters, the family whispers that he was wasting his life. Offers poured in 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, all rejected. His family knew nothing of this. To them, Caleb was the same skinny dreamer, holed up in his computer cave. He kept his success secret, partly from humility, partly to avoid their judgment. He drove a beat-up Honda, wore thrift store flannels, and lived as if he were still scraping by. But his mind was a furnace, forging a future others couldn't yet see. At 26, everything changed. A European fintech giant based in Zurich contacted Caleb. They'd tested Nexus in their labs and were stunned. It slashed transaction costs by 40% and boosted speed tenfold. Their offer was staggering $27.5 million to acquire Nexus, with Caleb retained as a lead consultant. He sat in his dimly lit apartment, staring at the email, his heart pounding. This was validation, not just of his work, but of his faith in himself. Yet he hesitated. Signing meant letting go of Nexus, his creation. After days of soul-searching, he flew to Zurich, negotiated terms, and signed. The deal was done, but Caleb swore to keep it quiet. He wasn't ready to face his family's reaction, not yet. Back in Oklahoma, life grew heavier for the Turners. Richard, now 60, needed heart surgery, a procedure costing hundreds of thousands. The family farm, a sprawling 100 acres passed down for generations, faced foreclosure due to unpaid taxes. Sarah struggled to fund Lily's dance lessons, and Mike's car sales slumped in a shaky economy. Caleb learned of this at a tense family dinner, where Richard's coughs punctuated the silence, and Linda's eyes glistened with worry. He said nothing, but felt a pang of guilt. He had millions now, wired to a discreet account, but revealing it felt like betrayal of his principles, of the humble life he'd chosen. Instead, Caleb acted in secret. He set up anonymous charitable trusts, funneling funds to his family without fanfare. He paid for Richard's surgery, ensuring the hospital billed it as a grant. He cleared the farm's tax debt, routing the payment through a fake county relief fund. For Lily, he funded a scholarship for her dance academy, delighting her with braces she'd always wanted. Sarah received a community grant to start a mobile health clinic, her dream project. Mike got a mysterious voucher for coding boot camp, a chance to pivot careers. Caleb watched from afar, his heart swelling as his family's burdens lifted, unaware of his hand in their miracles. But secrets don't stay buried. Mike, ever the skeptic, grew suspicious. At a family game night, as Lily twirled in her new dance shoes, he mused, "Someone's playing fairy godmother. You know anyone with that kind of cash, Caleb?" His tone was half joking, but his eyes probed. Caleb shrugged, focusing on his poker hand. "Nah, just lucky breaks, I guess." Inside, he panicked. He wasn't ready for the spotlight, not when his family still saw him as the dropout screw-up. Change came slowly. Richard, recovering from surgery, stumbled across a Wall Street Journal article about blockchain's rise. It mentioned Nexus, calling it a game changer, and naming Caleb as its creator. Stunned, Richard read it twice, his calloused fingers tracing the words. For the first time, he saw his son's world not as internet nonsense, but as a force reshaping finance, supply chains, even healthcare. At dinner one night, he cleared his throat, his voice gruff. "Caleb, I read about your work. Didn't realize it was such a big deal." It wasn't an apology, but it was a start. Caleb nodded, his throat tight. "Thanks, Dad." Caleb confided in Sarah first. Over coffee at a diner, he spilled everything: the white paper, the offers, the $27.5 million deal, now ballooned to $42 million with bonuses. Sarah's jaw dropped, her coffee forgotten. "Caleb, you're a freaking millionaire? And you're still eating ramen?" She laughed, then hugged him, tears in her eyes. "I'm so proud of you." She became his ally, subtly planting seeds with the family. "Caleb's doing some cool stuff," she'd say casually, gauging their reactions. The truth burst open at Lily's middle school career day. Caleb, roped into speaking, stood before a room of fidgety 12-year-olds. He'd planned a bland talk about coding, but Lily's proud grin from the front row unleashed something. 6 years ago, I dropped out of college, he began, his voice steady. My family thought I was crazy. They wanted me to get a real job. But I believed in blockchain, a technology that's changing the world. I built a system called Nexus. And last year, I sold it for $27.5 million. Actually, $42 million with bonuses. The room gasped. Kids whispered, "No way." Teachers gaped. Lily beamed, whispering to a friend, "That's my uncle." Word spread like wildfire. Richard, Linda, and Mike attended, sitting in the back. When Caleb finished, Richard stood, his eyes misty, and clapped. The room followed, a thunderous ovation. Later, Richard pulled Caleb aside. "Son, I was wrong. I didn't trust you, and I'm sorry. You've done something incredible." It was the apology Caleb had waited years to hear. They embraced, the weight of years dissolving. Caleb's wealth transformed the Turners' lives, not with extravagance, but with purpose. He bought his parents a cozy ranch house, easing their retirement. Sarah's mobile clinic thrived, serving rural communities. Mike, inspired by Caleb, excelled in coding boot camp, landing a tech job. Lily's Dance Academy scholarship let her shine, her performances drawing local crowds. The farm was saved, now a community hub with free coding workshops Caleb funded. Yet, Caleb remained grounded, still driving his Honda, still coding late into the night, not for money, but for impact. The family's dynamic shifted. Richard boasted about Caleb at the auto shop, showing off the Wall Street Journal article. Linda baked extra pies for Caleb's visits, her pride radiant. Mike, once dismissive, asked Caleb for coding tips, their bond growing. Sarah became Caleb's confidant, planning family projects together. Lily, now 13, declared she'd study computer science, inspired by her uncle. At a Christmas gathering, Richard raised a glass. "To Caleb for proving us wrong and showing us what's possible." Laughter and clinks filled the room, a far cry from the tense silences of years past. Caleb's story rippled beyond his family. Local news ran features on Oklahoma's blockchain prodigy, and schools invited him to speak. He launched a foundation, funding STEM programs for underserved kids, remembering his own second-hand laptop days. Nexus's impact grew, banks adopted it, supply chains streamlined, even healthcare systems experimented with it for secure records. Caleb, now 28, wasn't just a millionaire, he was a visionary, his name synonymous with innovation. But what mattered most was the reconciliation. Caleb and Richard took fishing trips, their silences now comfortable, not strained. One dawn, as they cast lines into a still lake, Richard said, "You didn't just change our lives, son. You changed how I see the world." Caleb smiled, the sunrise glinting off the water. "That's all I ever wanted, Dad." This story isn't just about Caleb Turner. It's about you, your dreams, your struggles, your moments of doubt. The world will mock what it doesn't understand. Families, friends, even your own fears will urge you to play it safe, to fit the mold. But Caleb's journey screams a truth. Your vision, no matter how out there, holds power. It takes grit, sacrifice, and unshakable belief to defy the skeptics. So, what's your nexus? What dream burns in you, waiting to be unleashed? Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for approval. Start now in your cramped apartment, your garage, your late-night hustle. The future belongs to those who dare to build it. Caleb's legacy isn't the $42 million. It's the lives he touched, his father's health, Lily's confidence, Sarah's mission, Mike's reinvention. It's the kids in his foundation, coding their first lines, dreaming bigger because of him. It's the proof that one person, armed with a laptop and a vision, can rewrite the rules. So, go. Chase your impossible. Prove them wrong. Change the world.